Rejection played a really huge role in my life. From my father who rejected me, to kids that rejected me, and boys that rejected me, to several failed relationships. I always thought it was my fault. I always thought that I caused the rejection, and it led to me constantly trying to change myself and make myself better. It led to me people pleasing and not setting good boundaries that were healthy for myself. My story started as a young girl, really pretty young girl, had nice, lovely, long hair. The kids at school made fun of me. The girls made fun of my hair because I couldn't do the hairstyle, and the boys made fun because my hair got frizzy a couple of times. So in order to fix that problem, I decided I was going to cut all that hair off. Therefore, I wouldn't be rejected again. I did that. Didn't help the situation. I still went throughout my junior high and high school years just not really being accepted by anyone, not being asked out. The few times I got asked out, I remember I got stood up twice. It was really sort of sad. Turned into a nice enough looking young girl, but I just never felt that good about myself. My father never really told me he loved me or that I was pretty, and nobody else did either. So whenever a guy came along and saw me and told me I was pretty, I was happy enough to do whatever it took to keep that person around, and willing enough to change myself to satisfy that person. So that man that found me took me and turned me into quite a sensual, sexy creature that wasn't at all what God intended for my life. It was actually a distortion, and my identity was hijacked. And I used that distorted self to get a lot of things that I wanted throughout my life. Eventually, it just came to where it just wasn't working because the people I was getting didn't really love me. It was for other things. And so that didn't work anymore. I didn't want that anymore. I wanted to be loved for who I was. Therefore, I had to start working on things. And the good news is, in this story, is I did go back and I worked it out and I figured out who I was, and I didn't worry about what other people thought all the time. I decided if someone likes me, they're going to want to be around me. And if they don't have to be around me. I'm not going to change to please them. I'm going to be who I am, and I will attract the people that like me. That is how I got out of that story. So let's talk a little bit about rejection and the cycle that we all go through. The rejection cycle is a vicious cycle. It's like this ongoing hamster wheel. I was on that hamster wheel for most of my life. We'll use the example from earlier. Rejection is the first part. Someone says, your hair's ugly. Your hair's too frizzy. Then you start questioning yourself. Well, is my hair frizzy? I thought my hair was okay. Then you start getting critical. Oh, well, yeah, I do see a frizzy part there, and yeah, it isn't really that great. I think I probably should cut it. And then you change yourself and you cut your hair because you just think, I'm going to fix the problem and I won't get rejected again. But the sad part about it is you get rejected again, and here we go, and it's like this wheel that we're just constantly on. Rejection shows up in a lot of different ways in our lives. A lot of us don't trust people. We just figure they're going to hurt us, so it's just better not to trust them and get too involved. Some of us lie because they're never like the real us, so we've got to make up whatever just to make sure that they like us. Some of us people please and do whatever and don't set good boundaries. Some of us actually are very jealous. We're always constantly comparing ourselves to others, and we're never happy when something good happens to somebody else. Sometimes we're rebellious because that just keeps people far enough away not to be able to hurt us. Sometimes we have difficulty being in conflict, just normal conflict, because it's just too overstimulating for us because it's too threatening to our character. And sometimes we fabricate personalities, like the guy that's always telling jokes. He tells jokes because that's a barrier to really getting to know him, and he can't be rejected that way. Or the lady that's just totally professional all the time because that's a nice wall to put up so that nobody can actually reject her. Or the person that is the social talker. They're always talking, talking, and always interrupting. That keeps them free from getting rejected. That is a way that people put on personas to protect themselves from rejection. Let's talk about how to overcome rejection. I have an exercise. I want to tell you how this came about. Now, I am definitely not pushing my religion on anybody. I mean, I'm a Christian and I talk to God a lot, but you don't have to believe that way if you don't want to. I one day was struggling with a situation where I got rejected on multiple fronts, and it was just really hard on me. And I was sitting in bed. I remember this, and I was like, God, why do I keep getting on this hamster wheel of this cycle of rejection? I know that I don't want to do this. Can you help me? And in my mind, I thought of something, or he gave me a thought. And the question I asked myself was, have you ever rejected anybody, and why did you do it? And was it really about them? And I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to write down a list of people I've rejected or things I've rejected. And I thought about a friend that had a party that I didn't go to. And the reason I didn't go was I had an all-day event, and I was going to be tired, and I probably wasn't going to be too much fun at the party, and I just knew better than to go because it was going to overextend me. It had nothing to do with my friend or if the party was going to be fun or not. It had to do with me and me feeling tired. Another example is I had a vendor that was trying to sell me something. They had a great product, but honestly, my budget just didn't allow for it. So it had nothing to do about the vendor's product not being good. It had to do with me not having the money. So when I looked at that, I thought, well, how many times has this happened to me? And I've thought it's been all about me, and it hasn't had anything to do with me. And I thought to myself, okay, let's list some times. Let's think about the people that have rejected me, and let's really analyze the rational reason for that. So let's use the example of a friend that stopped hanging around with me. I had a friend, and she just couldn't ever get together. And I thought, well, gosh, I must just be no fun. I guess, maybe I'm getting too old for her to hang out with me, or I don't know what it is. And actually, I met with this friend, and she said, no, that has nothing to do with it. I just got married 6 months ago, and that's quite an effort to try to get to know each other. And then I got this new job. And so honestly, Lori, I go home and rest or hang out with my husband. It has nothing to do with you. Okay. Well, that's good. That showed that that was an irrational thought process I was having. Or the guy that I went out with. Went out on a date, we visit, talk, and he never asked me out again. And me, I'm sort of bold enough to go, well, why? And the guy says, oh, it has nothing to do about you. He goes, you want a serious relationship, and I just want to date around and have some fun. And so I feel like our goals don't align. And so you go through the different things like that, and you think about what is the rational reason that this really happened, instead of me thinking I'm not good enough or I'm not fun enough or whatever. And if you write those things down and you really think about them, many times it's because of circumstances. Now, other times it can be because of someone's opinion. You just don't align, or interests don't align. Or sometimes it can just be somebody's in a bad place. Many times we think we're rejected when we're really not. It's just timing, circumstances, opinions, and like interest. I'm so glad that I had all the information and resources that I was able to utilize to get over rejection. And it actually was like getting released from a self-imposed prison, or getting finally to rest off of that rejection cycle hamster wheel. I'm excited for you guys to use this information and the resources I've provided so that you can break out of that prison and be liberated.